Berger Paints. With an ever-evolving profile and rich history for over 80 years, presents an insight into the colorful world of interior and enamel paints, with all its intricacies and technicalities made simple.
One must check any surface before applying paints to be sure that the surface is free from damp and cracks. Then scrub the surface with 60 or 80 number sandpaper. Then apply a coat of cement primer. Oh, you are aware that the primer are of WT and ST types? WT primer is water soluble, while ST primer should be dissolved only in the company made thinner. Several types of thinner are available in the market, but listen to my advice. If you wish to excel at work, never use kerosene or the cheap thinners available in the market.
Oh, I see.
4 liter primer should be dissolved in 15 to 20% turpentine, but never more than that. That too, depending upon the weather.
What are you saying? This is absolutely wrong. It should be 4 liter primer in 4 liter turpentine.
No, my dear. That is totally wrong. The solution will become very dilute and the applied primer will trickle down. Coating will also not be proper.
Oh, I see.
While coating with brush, always use roller on the surface.
Roller? What's that?
This is a roller. While coating, brush marks are formed. To avoid the brush marks, roller must be used always. Brush marks are avoided and smooth. Happy wall putty must be used to smoothen surface. If uneven or cracks are formed, then scrub with 100 or 120 number sandpaper.
100? 120? Just a minute. Sandpapers are usually of how many types?
Many types like 60, 80, 100, 120. The ones over this number are known as water papers.
What must be done after that?
Apply primer on the surface and allow it to dry. Apply the paint only after straining it properly. Paint should be applied only after this dries up totally. 40 to 50% dilution ratio must be maintained depending on the weather.
Paint should neither be too thick and not too dilute so as to help in the application procedure too, isn't it?
Absolutely right. Seems things are now being understood, my dear. Dilution ratio is always mentioned on the container. Just check that and follow the dilution ratio. Every product has a predefined dilution ratio. Thus, it is safer to follow the instruction on the container. Come on, let me now explain about the finish paints. For bison acrylic distemper, the ratio should be 2 parts of water to 3 parts of bison. And if it is Rangoli super acrylic emulsion, then the ratio is 2 parts of Rangoli emulsion and 1 part of water while being applied by brush. If you are using a roller, then the ratio should be 3 parts of Rangoli to 1 part of water. This is Luxol silk and it should be diluted in 300 to 400 ml water in 1 liter paint. Now see, what is the dilution ratio of ICI? It is 10 to 15%. But if you are using Luxol silk, then you must have 30 to 40% of dilution ratio. For this, one must always check dilution ratio mentioned on the container. Always keep in mind that for lighter shades, 3 coats must be applied for better finish. Paint the first coat and leave overnight to dry.
Okay. And after that?
After that, coat once more. Then you can see the magic. If the paint does not dry properly, chances of seizing is possible. It could also be due to grease, oil, or if the compression line is not clear in the walls, probability of seizing becomes very high. For doors and windows, scrub the surface with 60 or 80 number sandpaper. Then scrub once again with 100 or 120 number sandpaper. If the surface is new, then pay attention to cleanliness and leveling.
And if the surface is old?
If the surface is old, then remove the oil, grease and previous colors from it. Apply parrot wood primer for coating and allow it to dry overnight. Then scrub again with sandpaper. Then apply Luxol knifing putty onto the cracks and uneven areas, and it should be left to dry overnight.
For one night?
Yes, one night. Scrub again with 150 or 180 number water paper. Apply 2 coatings of enamel paint and allow it to dry. If you need a glossy finish, then use Luxol High Gloss, and if you need a silky finish, then use Luxol Satin Finish. Always remember that there is actually no need to add thinner into this, but if the gliding of the brush is not smooth, or depending on the weather, 5 to 7% thinner may be added for dilution, but never more than that. Always strain the paint before use, or this could be the reason enough for bitterness in the finish. Surface preparations is one of the most important factors, you see. Only then the coatings will give best results, okay? The settlement of oil, grease, dirt, etc. are but normal. Attempting to scrub them off completely must be the prime focus. Occasionally, in spite of all the right techniques applied, the results are not up to the mark. For example, if there is dust in the atmosphere, dirt in the paint or brush, or if moisture is present beneath the painted layers, or if air is trapped between the coatings, bubbles are formed and the paint cracks. This is known as blistering. Use of wrong thinner can lead to paint cracks known as flaking. One should avoid painting when the climate is humid. Presence of air or moisture in between the paint films may cause blooming in the surface. Prior to application of paint coats, the surface must be cleaned and the brush to be used must also be cleaned. After application, the surface should be left to dry completely. After the painting is over, one must dry up the surface. If the paint is too thick or thin, then there may be sagging. But if you use spray, then pay attention to the thinner and compression.
Berger Paints,